Hi there, everyone. I'm here with Speaker Anthony Rendon of this California State Assembly, and my name is Assemblymember Evan Lowe. Thank you for joining us. And hello, Speaker Rendon.
Hello.
We're here to talk about a number of different issues facing the state of California and the type of leadership that we have with respect to what's going on in the nation. I appreciate the time that you provided to join us here today.
Thank you.
So, just getting into what's going on in California, how has it been thus far as we begin in 2018?
This year we've been working on a number of issues out of the gate. We obviously did a lot of work last year on housing. We want to make sure that we continue to address that issue. You know, that's an issue that took about a generation for us to get into some trouble, so we want to make sure that we continue focus on that. Obviously, healthcare will continue to be a big topic. It was last year and it'll continue to be. We need to make sure that that final 9% of Californians who aren't covered are covered, and those Californians who spend too much on healthcare, that we're able to bring those costs down.
And of course, with respect to the state of California and the home of the resistance, there's a number of individuals who, prior to previous elections, who have never been engaged before. And so now there's this great amount of energy and how to channel that energy. What type of suggestions might you have for individuals who wish to be more engaged?
Well, first of all, it's exciting. Everywhere I go, from my own district throughout the state, I see people who say they were never involved before and all of a sudden they're very excited. I always tell people that the best place to start is locally. Those decisions that are made that have the greatest impact on you are made at the water board level, the school board level, the city council level. Those are the immediate impact of government decisions. Obviously, there's a lot happens here at the statewide level and at the national level as well. But the change generally begins locally, I believe.
Yes, and there's a number of different challenges and sacrifices, having said that, in serving in public office or running for public office, serving in various other capacities. And I think a lot of people get caught up in saying, how do they be engaged? And there's only one path, and that might be running for office. Are there some other paths that they can also participate in and working in collaboration with the state legislature, for example?
Oh, absolutely, quite a few. I worked in the nonprofit sector for about 20 years before running for office, and that's certainly a path. We have teachers and people who serve in social services as well, and those are great paths as well.
And so how about any types of suggestions that you might have for younger people, whether it be internships, individuals who see what's going on and they say they want to be part of the state assembly, or they want to be part of the state senate, or they want to run for governor or president one day? What type of advice might you give to individuals who wish to have that desire to be engaged?
Well, here at the state capitol, we have a number of internship opportunities and fellowship opportunities. I think those are good opportunities. They give you a great chance to see state government at work at the local level, at cities, at the county level. They have those opportunities as well. My first effort in public service was as an intern at city government, and that really gave me a hands-on perspective of how government works.
Mm-hmm. And then what would you say on a personal level would be some of the more challenging aspects of the job, not only just as a state legislature, but the responsibility and the magnitude of leading the state legislature in the state of California?
I think the difficult thing, particularly for me, as somebody who comes from the nonprofit sector, and I'm used to opening the door to my office and seeing a food bank, a child care center. I'm used to knowing kids on a first name basis who were at a gang reduction program. For me, this job can be very abstract. You're dealing with programs that are tens of billions of dollars. You're dealing with a state of 40 million people. What's most difficult for me is to cut through that abstraction and to kind of remember that all the decisions we make here have a real impact on real people's lives. So for me, it's important, and I know for you it's important, to go back to the district every weekend and to continue to stay engaged and sort of remind yourself by the stories and the lives of people on the ground what we're really doing here in Sacramento.
Yes, and the time commitment that's also required that you've put into this energy and effort is quite extraordinary. And yet this is a democratic process when we need to have all of the 120 members of the legislature be engaged in the process, but you at the helm leading that effort. If you had a magic wand to be able to figure out, okay, something that I would like to see that could be expedited, go through the process, do you have some sense of what some of those things might be?
A magic wand to make the state a little bit smaller, make it easier. This past weekend I was in Orange County, Palm Desert, Los Angeles, and Sacramento in a 24-hour period. That can be difficult. Sitting around in airports feels like wasted time at times. So I think that's really important. And I also think just sort of having a better idea, providing people a better opportunity to speak to one another. Oftentimes people have a sense of state government, and when you actually explain to them, when you're able to sit down and talk to them, well, we made this decision for this reason and this because of this reason, I think people kind of understand our role and why we do some of the things we do if you're able to talk to them almost on a one-on-one basis.
Well, you said that you were traveling during those various locations. You did that also with recognition that it was your birthday weekend, and so oftentimes there's a personal sacrifice that you make with respect to public service as well. Now, how about with respect to the issues moving forward with relation to the state of California and the nation? We're headed into a different time and different era where individuals are hoping that the state government can fight for them. Are there some key elements that you think would be helpful for our viewers to watch that they would know that we are championing for them?
Absolutely. I think this year we're starting the year by making sure we take care of all of our DACA kids and dreamers in this state. It's a population that has quite frankly been threatened by the federal government in California. We're saying that's not going to happen here. We're going to make sure we, to the best of our ability, are going to be able to take care of those folks. Working folks throughout the state, I think, have been helped by the efforts of the California legislature as well. We're going to continue to work on those issues.
Mm-hmm. And what is the greatest challenge that you face on a day-to-day basis as leader of the State Assembly?
I think the greatest challenge that I face and that we all face, quite frankly, is the fact that we don't have all the resources we wish we had. I worked in early childhood education for 20 years, and I always had waiting lists of anywhere from 700 to 1,100 children in our programs. We've reinvested, just for example, $800 million in early childhood education in the past 2 years. Yet we know out there in our communities we continue to have these long waiting lists and not enough kids who are being served by these programs. So whether it's college enrollment, early childhood education, any of the various functions of state government, we know that there is a lot of need out there, and we wish we could serve as many folks as need.
Right, great. And finally, with respect to civics, we, as you know, in the past 2014 gubernatorial election had one of the lowest voter turnouts in state history. And with this level of engagement, it's difficult to ensure that we can provide for all people and that all voices are heard. What type of advice would you give for individuals on how we can ensure that we get as much participation as possible?
Again, I think it goes back to local involvement. It's difficult for a lot of people to come up here to Sacramento, even more difficult for people to lobby their federal government in Washington, D.C. Electronic communications and obviously telephone makes that a little easier to do, and we should utilize those tools. But that being said, I think going down to City Hall, going to visit Evan Lowe in his district office and telling you about how your efforts impact the lives of people in your district, those matter as well. So there's a lot of things you can do in your own community that I think are really important.
Sure. So being engaged in coming to our town halls, emailing, phoning in, going to the district offices, going to public events that we are at and engaging in that way, tweeting at us, Facebook messaging us, communicating and making sure that we understand and we know that they are being heard.
Absolutely. Everything from electronic communications to I had a lot of little coffees throughout my district this past November and December. Those things are important, and having a sort of a face-to-face dialogue with your elected officials and their staff is absolutely essential.
Wonderful. Well, thank you very much. Well, you've heard it, everybody. Anthony Rendon, Speaker of the California State Assembly, on how you can be engaged, how you can be involved, and how you can be part of the resistance. Thank you very much.